It seemed like a dream come true when the HOA announced plans to build a new development of 99 homes around our serene lake. The promise of new neighbors, upgraded amenities, and modern homes had everyone excited. But as the construction began, there were a few things that didn't sit quite right with me. The lake, which had always been the centerpiece of our community, was beautiful year-round, but was prone to flooding during the summer months. The water level would rise dramatically when the snow melt hit in late spring, transforming what was a picturesque spot into a hazardous flood zone. I knew the history of the lake well. Every year it would flood, and every year people would scramble to protect their property. The HOA, however, seemed blissfully unaware or indifferent to this recurring issue. The development proceeded and homes were built right up to the water's edge, with no mention of flood risks or any flood management system being put in place. As the first summer after construction approached, I began to worry. The heavy rains and melting snow began to swell the lake, and sure enough, the floodwaters crept closer to the new homes. It wasn't long before the first signs of trouble appeared. Water began to seep into the foundations of the houses closest to the lake. People who had just moved in were starting to panic. Some tried to shore up their properties with sandbags, but it was clear that no one had thought this through. I decided it was time to speak up. At the next HOA meeting, I stood up and pointed out the obvious oversight. I reminded the board members and the developers that the lake had always been a flood zone, even though it was beautiful during the rest of the year. I also mentioned that the new homes were built too close to the shoreline without considering the flood risk. To my surprise, the response from the board was defensive, but it wasn't long before more residents started to voice their concerns. In the end, the HOA had no choice but to address the problem. They brought in experts to evaluate flood control. Measures and additional drainage systems were installed around the lake. The developers even agreed to elevate some of the homes that were most at risk. While it took some time and a lot of pressure, the HOA finally acknowledged the flood risk and took steps to ensure that future homeowners wouldn't be blindsided. It was a hard-fought battle, but in the end, the community learned an important lesson about the need to plan for nature's unpredictable behavior.